Do you live in Indiana and work in Illinois? Or do you live in Illinois and shop in Indiana? Hoosiers and residents in the land of Lincoln can be border beaus, foes, frenemies, and bedfellows, but is the state line a blurred line or a border of bad blood? Do people choose where they live, work, and play, or do circumstances determine that? Education, jobs, expressways, groceries, taxes, housing, alcohol, cigarettes, casinos, and gas prices may turn your flexible answers to concrete. Indiana or Illinois, to which border do you run? This is CounterPoint with Gerard McClendon. Thank you for joining us on CounterPoint. We want you to join the conversation by calling us at 844-777-9311, tweet us at GerardMC, and send us Facebook comments to Counterpoint Gerard. Joining me at Counterpoint is Spiros Batistatos, President and CEO of the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority, Erica Pfizer, Program and Communications Officer at Legacy Foundation, and Patrick Reardon from Reardon Consulting. Welcome, you three. Thanks so much for coming out to CounterPoint. Appreciate it.
Thrilled to be here.
Appreciate it. Hey, let's do this first of all. So we know that there's this interesting thing called not the Great Wall of China, not the Great Wall of Mexico, but the Great Wall of Indiana and Illinois. Border wars, blurred lines, or maybe the line is concrete. I'm going to start with you, Erica Pfizer. Erica, well, first of all, where do you work?
So I work with the Legacy Foundation. It's the community foundation serving Lake County, Indiana.
Good. So you work at Legacy, which is in Maryville, Indiana.
It's located in Maryville in the Twin Towers.
Twin Towers. But Erica, you drive from California to Northwest Indiana every day. You talk about a blurred line. Where do you live, Erica?
So I live in the Wicker Park area of Chicago, Illinois, and I do commute in every day into Maryville, Indiana.
You take the train, you drive a car?
I drive. So it can feel like California sometimes, especially on these winter days, but no, it's not bad. I live a blurred line.
Blurred line. So what makes an intelligent, well-educated, forthright young lady drive that far? Erica, why not just move to Northwest Indiana?
I like the best of both worlds.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
So I live my social, my cultural activities, my outside of work play life in Chicago, and I have my professional life here in Northwest Indiana.
This is good. So I'm going to go to Spiros Batistatos on this, working and playing in Northwest Indiana. Spiros, we know you very well. You're the man who gets butts in seats, and you're the man that says, don't drive to Illinois, you're too tired. Just pull off the side of the road and stay in one of our lovely hotels in Northwest Indiana. Erica lives a blurred line. What are some of the advantages of just living in Northwest Indiana?
Well, I've lived in Northwest Indiana almost my entire life. 2 years in Atlantic City and 4 in Bloomington. I'm from the region, proud to be from here. Have dedicated my life to improving the quality of life here. One of the people who believes that we can be more than we currently are. I think we are more than we have been, but we've got a long way to go. I get it. It's one of the reasons why I love living in the region is so that Chicago is at our back door.
Yeah.
So I would tell you from just being a resident of the region, there are blurred lines there. You'd love to go to the city for culture and arts and entertainment. Not that we don't have plenty of it here, but part of growing up in the region is knowing you've got that huge, big city, the 6th largest economy on the planet in your backyard. And so professionally, I think our challenges are to tap into it. Personally, we take advantage of it every day.
Pat Reardon, you've worked for Urban Enterprise. You run your own consulting firm now. Is Erica wrong, Pat, for living in Wicker Park and driving to Northwest Indiana, working for Legacy? What do you think, Pat Reardon?
First off, that's her personal choice. Yes. I wouldn't disagree with that. 4 of our 5 children who were born, raised, educated in Northwest Indiana now reside in the city of Chicago. So we live our lives with this blurred line.
Yeah.
It's great to have our kids so close, but they're establishing independent lives in Chicago.
Yeah.
But with home so close, they come, and it's easy for us to go there.
Let's stay on you, Pat, here
All right.
1 second. I'm going to come right back to you, Spiros. Just give me one big advantage of living and working in Indiana, Pat.
You have the wealth of resources readily available to you to tap into. That resource can be water. That resource can be educated workforce. That resource can be defined as competitive tax rates. So those are just some of the resources.
Good. Resources. Let me piggyback to Spiros. You had a comment.
Well, I do. I think that Pat just touched on, to me, one of the big issues we face, and I completely agree Erica should live and conduct her life in every way that she is currently. But what we're looking at and what his kids reinforce, and what I would argue we have done a not so good job at, is brain drain. Why aren't those 4 kids looking at the quality of life that we have here? Why aren't they looking at those resources and assets and say, you know what, that's good, I want to live there, I want to take advantage of it. And I think that's where, as a community, and I will take my share of that, as a community leader, we continue to fall short. We lose those highly educated, attractive young professionals that are moving, attractive as far as workforce and people we want in our organizations. We're losing them. And to me, that's where we've got to get up every day and do a better job.
This is a good point. Holding on to the attractive talent, intelligent talent of Northwest Indiana. Let's go right back to Erica Pfizer. So Erica, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Maryville High School.
So you went to Maryville High School. You currently live
in Chicago.
in Chicago,
I
and
do.
you currently work.
In Maryville.
So she's not necessarily a brain drain example, because even though she went to high school here and then you went to
I went to Indiana University, Bloomington.
You live in Chicago, but we still benefit from her great talents here.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I choose to work in Northwest Indiana, and specifically at the Legacy Foundation, is that we are working to make these communities more attractive to a young, talented population.
Yeah.
And so it has to be bringing the opportunity, innovative ideas, walkable communities, the things that are attractive to people my age, to a community. And I think we're going there. I just don't think we're fully there yet.
A lot of the work that you do at Legacy deals with just that, making sure that there's less brain drain, making sure that the younger people in Northwest Indiana are getting educated, with the Lilly Foundations, et cetera.
Yes, with a number of scholarships that we offer, including the Lilly.
Excellent, excellent. Pat, Andrean High School,
Yes.
did all of your children go there?
Yes. Our youngest, Patrick, is a junior. So all 4 Andrean graduates.
You couldn't convince them to stay in Northwest Indiana?
We did discuss that, but I can't speak for every family who's had children graduate from Andrean. But the trend we're seeing with our children and our children's friends is that it's very understandable, given all the attractiveness of Chicago, if you will. They're going to Chicago. And with their jobs, they're traveling, in some respects, around the world.
Yeah.
Many are traveling the United States.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing then, when they get to their late 20s, they're coming back to Northwest Indiana, which I think is very interesting.
Which is the boomerang effect.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Erica, for being on the show. We wish you the best. We're going to come back in the next segment with someone, but thank you so much for being
Certainly. Thank you for
on
having me.
CounterPoint. There are pros and cons to doing certain things in Illinois and Indiana. Let's name a few and peruse the issues. But it's time for We the People. I'm going to read a few Facebook comments. We've got one from Carmen Robinson. It says, usually I get groceries or gas in Indiana. Plus there's cheaper taxes. Illinois is over the top when it comes to taxes. Keisha Renee Davis says, I live in Illinois, but shop in Indiana. The taxes are cheaper. The commute is nothing. I'm on the border of Dyer, Indiana. Even if I decided to shop in Illinois, I never shop in Cook County. The taxes are too high. They are better in Will and Kankakee counties. And also we've got SWL who says, I used to, but it's better in Illinois. File taxes in Indiana, which is cheaper. Quality of life is better in Illinois, but the cost of living is cheaper in Indiana. That's We the People and a few of your Facebook comments. Tweet me, post on Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook. Let's start the conversation. Your voice is important on CounterPoint. Welcome back to CounterPoint. Hey, we're joined in this segment by Matt Reardon from MCR Partners Limited. Thanks for joining us, Matt. We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
You know, and there's no room for sibling rivalry on my panel today. Is that okay?
Well, you know what? I think we learned from our parents a long time ago. You better go along to get along, because there was 11 of us. So
I love it.
I just feel bad for Spiros here.
He's right. That's why we put him in the middle.
That's right.
Well, I'm like the Greek half-brother neither one of you
That's
wanted,
true.
so there you go.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that. You know, Matt, let me start with you. You know, so we're looking at the blurred line or
Yeah.
the concrete line of Illinois and Indiana. It changes according to what you need or what you want. All right. Pat and Spiros answered that question most eloquently. But quickly, what are some of the advantages of being, working, living, doing business on the Indiana part of the line?
Well, you know, generally speaking, the workman's comp and unemployment is less, but getting back to just the basics of doing business, if you're able to get in and out of where you're trying to get to, and that's important to your business, then Indiana's for you. And there's a place for businesses in Chicago, and that has to do with an address and the cachet that comes with the 6th largest economy in the world and having all that major access. Now, with that being said, I've seen a lot of businesses manufacturing, light manufacturing, just distribution, warehouse, coming over and looking over on this line. And I'll tell you something that I thought was really telling from a few years back. I was having a meeting with some lenders, and they talked about their discussions with their mid-market businesses, which are 50 to 200 employees. Their issue with Illinois was this: I would move to Indiana the second I can't sell my property.
Wow.
So they're tied into it.
So they would move their business to Indiana, but they can't sell their property in Illinois.
So you're going to take a beating and a loss on moving, so they're figuring that, well, you know what, I'm going to have to slug it out, and maybe, just maybe, it'll get better.
And the reason for them wanting to move to Indiana is what?
It's lower taxes, ease of operation, and there's a workforce here, and that whole the drive time stuff. The NERC says it's 22 miles. So you're into the Chicago market, and there's 6 million people around here. Yeah. You're going to attract listen, if you're going to pay the right wage, you're going to get the right talent.
Yeah. Spiros, staying in a hotel in Chicago, Illinois, when you look at your hotel bill, if you stay downtown, the hotel bill's tax is almost as much as the actual price of the room. So is that a reason why people should say, you know what, might as well just take a limo to Illinois? What do you think about that, Spiros?
Again, to take off of Matt's points here, I mean, we have a certain business that appeals to certain sectors of the travel economy.
Certain sectors of the travel economy.
Correct.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're never going to compete for those big conventions that are in Chicago. Are we going to get price-sensitive people because, yes, you can come here and for almost as much as you're paying in taxes, you can get the room? Sure, you could take a look at that. But we serve smaller Midwestern conventions and meetings. We are that tertiary market. We're never going to compete up there, and we know what we're going after and what we don't. When you want to go downtown and stay in a hotel with your significant other, guess what? You're going to pay the freight. When you're looking for If you're a family of 4 or a family of 5 that wants to be in the Chicago metro area and save your money for the professional sports outing or for that attraction or for something else, you may be more price sensitive and taking a look at suburban hotel markets that feed into the city. So when it comes to leisure, we know very much who our guest is. When it comes to business, we know who our guest is. And we have always taken advantage as a convention bureau and as a destination. Chicago is part of what we sell. It's right there. We're not going to run from it. We're not going to hide from it. If you want to come into the northwest corner of our state, part of that experience is Chicago driven.
You know, Pat, I'm looking at my notes here. So we're looking at education, jobs, expressways, transportation. Is it wrong, Pat Reardon, for someone to say, I'm living in Illinois, but I'm going to that casino, I'm going to that Walmart because the Walmart where I live in Chicago has taxes that are too high? If I need cigarettes, alcohol, if I need groceries, is it wrong for them, Pat Reardon, to say, you know what, I'm gonna drive 5 minutes, cross the state line, do all of my shopping, and then I'm gonna run for the border and go back home? Is that wrong?
No, not at all. Again, that's personal choice. Some of that is driven by proximity to market. If I'm a Hegewisch resident, and for whatever reason, there's not a shop that I'm looking for in my community, and I know that there's that shop across the border in the Robertsdale section of Hammond, Indiana, I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to my home, where I live, where I pay my taxes. So no, it's not wrong.
So we shouldn't indict those people. I mean,
No,
it is
not-
what it is, right?
no, not at all.
Proximity to market. Yeah.
Go ahead,
I will
Scott.
tell you, I think borders are becoming more and more, not from what Matt does for what you guys do for a living, borders are important because it's something that you're dragging that business person across to establish residency
Yes.
or to establish their business. From my point of view, borders have become watered down and almost meaningless. When
So
the
it's a
visitor-
blurred line. So your business is a blurred line.
The visitor doesn't care where county lines are. They don't know, they don't care. They want to come into the area and they want to say, where's Lighthouse Place Mall? Where's the Horseshoe Casino? Where's Fair Oaks Dairy? Where are the Chicago Bears playing? They look at the whole geographic region and they say they want to have that experience along the southern tip of Lake Michigan. So our business is different from what these two gentlemen are doing, and to me, they're becoming increasingly meaningless.
So for his situation, it's a blurred line. Matt, how is it a concrete line? I'm going to come to you, Pat, too.
Sure.
How is it a concrete line for economic development or for taxes?
Well, you know, again, with the taxes and location, it matters where you go. And I'll give you a quick example. When I looked at Palos Heights versus Munster, and Palos is a little less population, but similar communities in income. So I took a house, same square footage, one in Munster, one in Palos, and the taxes were 30% lower in Indiana for the same house. So you have this market that is insanely available in Indiana, but yet people tend to go to Illinois. And I've been doing this stuff for 25 years.
Yeah.
It's always been a question, and it really is this pretend wall that was established in, i.e., Indiana's a bunch of hayseeds, so why do you want to go over there?
Yeah.
Well, here's the news, because we don't like paying high taxes. We like being able to get around. And you know what? We like to have access to the government. Somebody tell me you go and you roll into the mayor of Chicago's office, you're going to talk to him? Probably not.
It's not going to happen.
No, you're not going to talk
It's
to
not
him.
going to. You know
You
what?
better bring a big checkbook if that's the case.
I got to break shortly, but Pat, just quickly, this is interesting what Matt just brought up, and I want you to piggyback off of what Matt is saying. The state of Illinois still hasn't passed the budget. People are going bananas in Illinois right now. Is that a concrete line of not doing business in Illinois?
Absolutely. From my 32 years work as an economic development practitioner, and up to and including today's newspapers, you hear about the negative impacts that type of ineffectual government has on business. The state of Indiana long ago recognized the opportunities that are created and have positioned themselves with that, invited communities here in Northwest Indiana to be part of the marketing team to make available Northwest Indiana to these companies.
Yeah, to make available. I like that. We're going to come back to that in the next segment. You know, it's time for we, the people. I got to read a few more tweets and a few more Facebook comments. Michelle Thomas reads, she says, I don't have to pay just to park in Indiana. I don't have to worry about getting parking tickets and getting booted in Indiana. It's a lot cheaper for identical items, Gerard. I don't have to worry about getting red light tickets. Regina Biffle says, Indiana has cheaper rent, Gerard, and I have a good job in Illinois. I shop more in Illinois because I'm there more than in Indiana, though. And Maria Jim says, Chicago is too expensive, Gerard, on every item that I purchase every day. Thank you so much for leaving those comments. Tweet me, post on Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook. Let's start the conversation. Your voice is important on CounterPoint. Welcome back to CounterPoint with Gerard McClendon. You know, we always invite you to give us a call, send a text, or you can always send us a tweet or a Facebook message. Gentlemen, thanks for sticking around on the CounterPoint. I got to get to this before I talk about retention and before we go back to brain drain and the actual number of and percentage of graduates of college in Northwest Indiana as opposed to Illinois. But what economic significance does Indiana being a Republican state, a red state, have on Illinois being a Democratic state? Now we're seeing some shift because Governor Rauner, of course, is a Republican, and he has emboldened the Republicans there now. And of course, there's somewhat of a civil war taking place in Illinois right now. But outside of Northwest Indiana is for the most part Democrat. Is the climate economically better here? Are the taxes lower here because of the Republican bent in Indiana? Who wants to address that?
I will. I got to say no. I think it's a function of the commerce that is in Indiana, and again, like a lot of things, I heard one of your producers talk about math. It's a math equation.
Yeah.
Indiana's budget is this. We have taxes that are in effect of sales tax and income tax, and that funds the operations of government, period. Chicago has a bigger cost. They have a longer legacy cost and all those things. So, you know, I don't want to say it's dumb luck. I think Mitch Daniels had a little something to do with adjusting the tax system. That has had a pronounced impact on communities because they had to really get within the budget, and back to that math question. So they couldn't just arbitrarily raise or just raise a percentage every year. There had to be a purpose. So, you know, that the whole study, the Kernan Shepard report, really shed some light on that, and there was a lot of people participating. At the end of it, when government started moaning a little bit, that's usually a sign of good things to come. And I think you've seen that in the communities here. That affects the property taxes, that affects the availability of funds, that affects people wanting to make investment here. So that's kind of where we're at. As far as Rauner's concerned, I think he got served a hot bag of you-know-what over there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know what to do with that. I mean, you look at that, you know, those costs are just outrageous.
Unbelievable.
And you can't, it's almost like you can't manage that problem, and they can't borrow their way out of it.
No budget in the last 8 months. The interest rates keep going higher and higher. Chicago, the Moody rating, just
going down
through the floor.
Not a good idea there.
Let's talk about Spiros. Hotel rooms, entertainment in Northwest Indiana. Is it affected by a Republican or Democrat administration?
We have no interest in that discussion. I don't think it has any relevance to the discussion. Our product will be consumed or not consumed based on how competitive and the quality of it. So to me, you know, suggesting that Indiana or Illinois, depending on the shifting politics of the day, we're going to either get business or we're not going to get business because of what we're putting out there, which, to Matt's reference, if it's a steaming pile, then we're not going to get business. If it's a great product at a compelling price, we're going to get business.
Okay, so this is interesting that we've gone to waste. No pun intended. Patrick Reardon, how does Illinois attract business? How does Indiana attract business in an economic climate such as this?
Well, both states have a number of economic development incentive programs. For example, Indiana and Illinois offer what's called the Enterprise Zone Program, which is a euphemism for this is a tough urban area where if you consider investing, you're in line to access unique incentives. It might be a jobs tax credit. It might be a decrease in real estate tax. It might be a waiver of some sort of a policy or regulation. You have comparable marketing initiatives. Although I haven't seen Indiana's program lately, the famous or infamous, depending on one's point of view, Illinois marketing program.
Yes.
Got a lot of talk.
You're so frustrated with Illinois that you say, come on over to the other side of the border.
And which is a way of stating the obvious. To Matt's point, it comes down to dollars, it comes down to accessibility, it comes down to available workforce and future workforce. And those all go into that decision-making process.
Yeah.
Before I continue, I do want to say, and I'm sure I speak for my fellow panelists here, congratulations on your new show.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us to be part of it.
I appreciate that. And you know what? It's been a plum-pleasing pleasure to have Matt Reardon, Pat Reardon, and Spiros Baristatos on the first Counterpoint. This is magnificent. Hey, I want to thank my guests, Spiros Baristatos, Erica Pfizer, Patrick Reardon, and his brother, Matt Reardon, for joining me at the Counterpoint. Quality of life is the general well-being of people and societies. My guests have shared the options and challenges of living, working, shopping, and investing across the Illinois and Indiana state lines to enhance their quality of life. You must always do what's best for your family, which means changing patterns for which you may not be accustomed. I can't tell you where to work, live, play, spend your money, and travel, but you should always be informed of options that will better your outcomes. I've lived and worked in Indiana and Illinois. Living near the border has had wonderful opportunities for me, and for full disclosure, I was born in Hammond, Indiana, went to college in Illinois, worked in Indiana, and currently I live in Chicago. Thank you for watching Counterpoint with Gerard McClendon. Call me at 844-777-9311. Tweet me at GerardMC and send Facebook comments to Counterpoint Gerard. Stay positive, keep your head up, and always be encouraged to voice your counterpoint. Have a great week.